going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 6 of Wavelengths, a big program today. We have a full house. Chris Mullen, who has not missed a college football game since he was born. Iestyn Harris, one of the AFC East's biggest fans and also apologists to an extent. Garrett Cowdrey, back with the cowboy hat background, knows this stuff. Andrew Tolva hasn't slept since the Super Bowl and also knows most of these guys personally, I'm pretty sure by now, if you haven't read his work.
He has their
I'm
contacts.
I'm just here for the ride. That's what I bring. A lot to go over. Chris Mullen, I want to start with you. It is almost 10 p.m. here on the Tuesday before the draft on the East Coast. What are you hearing in regards to any late trades, any big movers, big downfalls?
Right. Well, you're hearing no one's sleeping. I have to do my 32 team cheat sheet tonight, and that's gonna take at least 4 hours. So I'm in it for the long haul. So that'll be fun. But for trades, a couple things. Atlanta is not a likely team to trade out. There's no team that's willing to move to forward and take, say, Justin Fields or Trey Lance because it's not worth the value that teams produce that they find. I think if Lance is there at 4, I think that's the pick for Atlanta. I think the signs have told us that if Atlanta decides to go quarterback, they want a guy who can sit for 2 years and not cause a hassle for Matt Ryan. If he struggles for a game or two, they don't want fans to clamor for, oh, we want to see Justin Fields because he's more pro ready. Them taking Trey Lance allows them to have more of a break period, not as much flack on them for keeping or trading for someone. And I think the trade rumors for Julio are legit. They're in a cap space that is not good. They are still over the cap. Unloading Julio would predict more of a QB draft pick because you're not trying to win now. You're just trying to reboot and save money. If you trade Julio, then draft a receiver, a tight end's a lateral move. It's not like a good move for anyone. It's going to cost more money in the long run anyways. So if you see a Julio trade, you can bet that's a quarterback. And then furthermore, you can bet that it's Trey Lance because they have some kind of intel that says he's staying there. If it's not Trey Lance, if Trey Lance goes to number 3, and it's Mac Jones and Justin Fields, I do think they take Kyle Pitts. I think it's we reported on that today. So I think that's the direction they take. As far as other trades, we reported that the Cardinals are making calls to everyone with 7 and back to trade up. They want to take Jalen Waddle. They want more weapons for Kyler Murray. They believe that they are in a window of success. They think they are in a Super Bowl window. Whether that is true or not is up to the eyes of the interpreter. Whether they can win it under their current head coach is, again, up to the eyes of the interpreter. But internally, the Cardinals do feel that they can win now. And taking a guy like Jalen Waddle who can just feast in the slot with Hopkins already, and if Fitzgerald retires, you already have a good receiving core outside of that. It's definitely a move that they would make to solidify the Super Bowl run. Outside of that, it's more about trading back. I think the Panthers want to trade back desperately. There's no real value in taking a top 8 guy. Well, they can take a guy top 15 and recoup the value they lost for Sam Darnold and trade to the Jets. I do think that they won't take quarterback, even if one falls to them. It's more just an indictment about how bad they are at the board instead of, or are they going to take a quarterback and then also trade Sam Darnold again, which I don't think will be the case. The Patriots want to move back as well, according to my guys. They want to move back into the late teens because, again, they could find more value later on. In this draft particularly, there's not a big gap in defensive players. And if that is the route they want to go, they can afford to trade back and take a guy that's has equal value, say a Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah or a J.C. Horn or a Caleb Farley, that kind of player that can trade back for and still get. Now, I do think the ceiling for Caleb Farley is 16 if the Cardinals stay. Or sorry, not 16. Yeah, 16. If they stay, I think that we've heard that they want to target Caleb Farley. If they stay placed at 16, so if the board remains the way it is and that's where he falls, that's his limit, which is surprising because people were trying to report today that, oh, he's out of top 32 because of injuries. No, they've been all checked out. He's clear medically. There seems to be no lasting injury issues. For the most part, he is cleared. You just have to worry about reoccurring stuff, but his current health is good. And then another trade, the Jets look to move up if they see offensive linemen fall, like a Rashawn Slater or an Elijah Vera Tucker fall past 15, 16. That's a move they would like to make, not to trade too much, like a second-round pick or a third-round pick because they have 2 firsts and 2 thirds. They can afford to trade some value to get up there and get the offensive line that they desperately want. As far as trades, I think it's hard to predict this draft because you don't know what teams value what. The because we lack combine, we lacked all these social interaction between GMs and agents and sporting people, we'd have much more clear picture like we did last year if we were given this opportunity to understand what they're thinking. But without the social interactions, it's hard to gauge. So I would say we'd see less trades this year because of the uncertainty with the draft. But I do say if a guy falls of a high positional value, like quarterback, receiver, linebacker, Micah Parsons, if he falls, you will definitely see a trade for one of those guys. No one's going to let them fall into someone's lap.
Andrew, that brings me into our first discussion. Carolina Panthers sitting there at 8. Teddy Two Gloves. Sam Darnold. If they don't take a quarterback, what are they doing on Thursday?
Well, I think Sam Darnold, they have a lot of faith in him. I think they're going to be his guy. As a Saints fan, I'm a big fan of Teddy Bridgewater, the person. Maybe not as much the player, but I think I have as much faith in Sam Darnold as they do. So what they're going to look to do here is bolster the offensive line. I mean, it's a sad situation right now. Pat Elflein was one of their bigger offensive line additions this offseason. And then they have Cameron Irving starting at left tackle for them. And I just can't imagine that an NFL team has faith in a career sixth man to start at blindside blocker. I mean, I've said it once and I'll say it again. Football is a game of passers. The most important positions are the passer, the pass rusher, and the pass protector. And especially in a division where guys like Cam Jordan and Brian Burns are getting after you, or Cam Jordan, Shaq Barrett, guys like that are getting after you every week, you need to protect your quarterback. Your offense isn't going anywhere. So I think Rashawn Slater could be the target if they sit there at 8. They're going to look for a guy who can be versatile. I know Matt Rule loves versatile players. Rashawn Slater is the first guy in a while that I can say confidently can start all 5 positions on the offensive line and be above average at each of them. So he gives them a lot of versatility there. They just locked down one of the best right tackles in the league in Taylor Monton. They have a good center in Matt Paradis. They get Rashawn Slater, and now they just have to address the guards. And there's depth there in the later rounds. So I think they go offensive line. If they don't go offensive line, I think a cornerback makes a lot of sense for them. They are big on J.C. Horn. I saw a couple reports came out this week, and I've heard from my insiders that J.C. Horn is a big name in the building right now. In fact, if Penei Sewell is there at 8, it will be a real discussion between Horn or Sewell. So Matt Rule's defense is really important to him. We saw that last year when they used every single pick on a defensive player, and I wouldn't be surprised if they went heavy defense here. They got a great base. They have Bravion Roy at nose tackle, Derek Brown, their top 5 pick from last year, and then Hassan Reddick and Burns are screaming off the edge, 2 real athletes. They have Shaq Thompson, Denzel Perryman, and then they're really, really big on Jermaine Carter as linebackers. So Jeremy Chin, a standout in that defense. And then they have Dante Jackson, the speedy cover man, AJ Boye, who's suspended. And then you slide in a guy like a JC Horner, Patrick Surtain. You have a legitimate defense to compete in a division with the reigning Super Bowl champs.
I think to go off what you said with Sewell, I think we may see a slide for Sewell. Just look at the board in general. The first 4 picks won't be Sewell. Number 5 is heavily leaning in Jamar Chase's favor. Number 6, it's going to be a receiver again. Don't let it fool you that they're moving their guys interior and they trade Eric Flowers. It's still going to be a weapon of some sort to help Tua. Number 7, I guess you can see him there. But again, I think that Detroit, the way they value versatility and knee buyers, if you will, I think they would value Rashawn Slater a little bit more than Penei Sewell.
I agree.
And then number 8, if they trade out, I don't see a team trading up for Penei Sewell. So you can see him possibly fall to 10 or fall to 11. But I do think that a team like Detroit, if faced with the decision to take an offensive lineman, would prefer a guy like Slater who can play all 5 positions, who is a meaner player than, say, a Penei Sewell is. I think it fit their culture a little bit more.
I will say one thing that I've heard pretty overwhelmingly is that if Sewell makes it past 8, past the Panthers pick, the Chargers are going to make a strong push to get up there and snag Sewell.
That's what I've heard.
Garrett, I want to ask you now. We're going to go back up the board to number 5. Cincinnati Bengals got a big choice. Do they get one of Joe Burrow's favorite targets, or do they get someone like Sewell? If you're on the clock for the Bengals, what are you doing?
I mean, this is my favorite question of the whole first round because people see it as like, oh, you can lose with this. I really don't think you can. A month ago, I would have said for sure it's Sewell, and today I can sit here and say I would bet money on Jamar Chase because I think they're going to give in. I think they're going to go with him, and I think there's nothing wrong with that pick. I think it'd be smarter to take Sewell, but if they take Jamar Chase on draft night, I'm not going to complain about that one bit. They're in a great position where they get to choose between reuniting the greatest quarterback wide receiver duo we've seen in a very long time in college football, or a freak athlete on the offensive line that can hold down your blind side for the next decade, for Joe Burrow. And while they can't lose with that pick, I think they'll go Jamar Chase. They should probably go Penei Sewell, but I think Jamar Chase is going to be that pick, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think it'll be a great pick, and as long as Joe Burrow stays healthy with a little bit weaker offensive line, I think it'll be really fun to watch those two in Cincinnati, and I think it'll be just what the franchise needs after years of mediocrity and disappointment.
I mean, like Garrett said, it's definitely one of the funner questions of the draft, next to what the Falcons will do at their position. I think I agree with you. You can't really go wrong, right? You can get a premier weapon in Jamar Chase, who already has great connection with Joe Burrow and can be your receiver one entering the building, or you can go with the guy like Penei Sewell, who's a blindside protector. The issue is they already have one of those. Jonah Williams is left tackle for them.
Amen.
Riley was right tackle for them. They have their two tackle spots somewhat solidified. I mean, Riley is replaceable, but that'd be more of a spot for Rashawn Slater, who's already a right tackle. You don't want to move a left tackle to right tackle. It's harder than you think. It's not like Madden where you can switch the position and he goes down one overall. Like it's a big move to go from left to right. And you don't want a premier guy where you draft top 5 to have to change positions. So I think, and I talked about this earlier, not on here, but I talked about it earlier. The valuing of a top 5 in this class, right? In the top 5 pick at offensive line, Penei Sewell, where there's already incredibly good interior offensive linemen you can pick later in the first round if you trade back up, or at the pick in the second round when you already sit at, where guys like Landon Dickerson, Creed Humphrey, Wyatt Davis, Trey Smith will all be there. Dylan Rader, if you want to put him inside, they will all be there. Well, at least some of them will be there. So you will have the option to pick at least one of them. To take a position of need with a guy like Landon or Wyatt, rather than taking a guy moving a position where you can already get a guy you need to fill the 100 touches you lost with an AJ Green, you can fill that position with the guy your quarterback already knows, and then go to the second round and pick a starting ready offensive guard that you don't have to change positions with. You're meeting value and need at the same time. So I think it'd be smart. And like Joe Goodberry said, he's very connected with the Bengals organization. It's not only the way they should go, it's the way they are leaning to. So I would expect, as long as for some reason no one takes Jamar Chase for the Bengals, he's their guy because they recognize the talent that is there, and B, they recognize the value that's second round for the offensive linemen still available.
No one is talking enough about how good Jonah Williams is at left tackle. I mean, this guy can hold down the blind side for the next decade. If he stays healthy, it's a big if, but I'm not ready to spend a top 5 pick on an if. I'm not ready to spend a top 5 pick after we just are giving Riley Reiff $7.5 million to play right tackle. He's going to play right tackle. I also don't understand how no one's talking about the joke that is Xavier Su'a-Filo and Michael Jordan. Those are 2 backups on any other team in the league. Billy Price is a failure of a first-round draft pick. Your interior of that line is the problem. And you play in a division where there's Calais Campbell coming from the interior. You play in a division with Casey Hayward coming from the interior and Stephon Tuitt. And you play in a division where pass rush is premier. You need to protect your quarterback. That being said, they should and will take Jamar Chase at 5.
Now in the biggest, I'm not sure what they're doing, move of the offseason, the 49ers doing whatever they've been doing down there in Silicon Valley. This pick has captivated the NFL world, and I think that this will be what decides Kyle Shanahan's fate down there in the Bay. John Lynch, it seems like he just went, do whatever you want to do, man. It's out of my hands. So this whatever happens, John Lynch is going to be safe. Unless they go 0-17 now, he'll be fine. This is all Kyle Shanahan. This is going to be his guy, handpicked. So, Iestyn Harris, you know about as well as anybody here, trading up for a guy that you want and you feel that strongly about can change the direction of your franchise. What are they doing Thursday night?
Thursday night, it seems pretty clear to me that it's got to be Mac Jones. I mean, they were so heavily involved with him. They clearly invested a lot of time in him, and it was a clear pick from the beginning. But the fact that suddenly things are looking cloudy in the past couple of weeks, that suddenly things feel different now, that, there's conflicting reports, I don't believe it. It's the smoke window. They're just looking to cloud people's judgment a little bit. I think it's that the whole reason that you make a big move like that, to trade up as high as you do, is because you have a specific target in mind. Things don't just suddenly start changing. You don't keep watching tape and then all of a sudden, oh, hang on, now all of a sudden he looks better than he did before. When we traded up to 3. Suddenly this is a conflicting pick. It's clear they chose their guy and they're going after him, and it's Jones.
Well, and why I agree that's a smart thing to do, right? You should have a guy in mind when you trade up. For some reason, with the people I've talked to and what we've been hearing, I don't think that's exactly how it happened. And I'll try to I'll try to give a timeline of how I think things happened. Season ends. We realize the Dolphins have the 3rd overall pick. They're obviously trading out. There's no way they stay. So teams like the Broncos, the Panthers, and the 49ers are calling up, right? They want this pick. It was more so the 49ers and the Panthers. They were the two people who had the ammo and the assets to move for this 3rd overall pick. Now, whether they finished their scouting reports or not, they had to make a move in opportune time so another team did not take over their spot. So it was really about what team will fold to the pressure rather than waiting and doing their scouting process. The Jets, for example, had a comfortable position where they already had the pick and had the time to go through their process, go through the interviews, go to the pro days and get it all done. They finished their process right when the Zach Wilson thing ended. Right when his pro day was over, they finished their process because they just wanted to make sure he was healthy. For the 49ers, it wasn't so simple as that. They had to do their process to look at the guys past Zach Wilson. Those pro days were after Zach Wilson's pro day. Once the league knew that the Jets were going Zach Wilson, once his medicals checked out, it was an open season to whoever get that pick the fastest, because San Francisco had known that it was the all-time high to sell. They knew they get the most value out of the pick because the teams knew, okay, 1 and 2 are solidified. We have our choice at 3. Whether the Panthers or the 49ers were done with their evaluation, it didn't really matter. What mattered was who can produce a trade fast enough to get the pick in the opportune time, whether you finish your scouting reports or not. Because at that point, you still have the treasure organization. Can we find a guy who's good enough for the 3rd overall pick? The 49ers believe they could. My understanding of it, what the media said when I've talked to guys about, they were comfortable enough in taking Mac Jones 3 overall when they made a selection. They had a guy in mind. It didn't mean they were closed off to other ideas like Justin Fields or Trey Lance, but they had already had enough scouting because Mac Jones is so much, he's pro ready enough, and he had the West Coast traits that Kyle Shanahan likes to run the offense well enough to be deserved of a 3rd overall pick. That was the reason they traded up, because they were comfortable enough with him. They still had time to review Justin Fields and Trey Lance and go to the second pro days, right? But they were comfortable enough with the pick. That's not how you're supposed to do it, but because of the way the trade market opened up, they were kind of forced to do that. The Panthers said hands off and just went with Sam Darnold. What they've come down to is it's more about the GM versus the head coach, because the front office truly does want Trey Lance. He is an easier bet. He has more traits. He is a more marketable player. Kyle Shanahan doesn't care. He wants a guy that can run his offense the best. And now the perfect Kyle Shanahan scheme, the one he's made all his money off of, all his fame, it could lose him his job. Because if you pick a quarterback purely based off of scheme in Mac Jones, and he is not as good as Justin Fields or a Trey Lance, it doesn't matter if you're going to run your scheme. It matters who's the most talented player in the field, because a Alex Smith won't win you a Super Bowl. A Lamar Jackson or a Patrick Mahomes will. And you cannot project, per se, Mac Jones to be a high-level guy like that. So if the pick is Trey Lance, you know that the owners and the GM kind of forced it on Kyle Shanahan. He said, look, this guy's choosy, make it work. If it's Mac Jones, it's the GM and the owner saying, look, this is on you. If you mess it up, you're fired. So on Thursday, we will know what they feel about their organization and who truly has the power.
I think it's a little bit of both, actually. Iestyn, you bring up a great point. You don't move up unless you have a guy in mind.
Yeah, not sacrificing three total first
Right.
round picks too.
I mean, they gave up a ton of draft capital. That was the jaw dropper. We didn't know they were going up for Mac Jones. We don't know if they're going up for Trey Lance. We don't know if they're moving up for Dylan Radins and they just love him that much. But what we do know is they have someone in mind, and they gave up a ton of draft capital for it. So yes, we can infer that it's a quarterback. Kyle Shanahan's recent press tells us, yes, it's a quarterback. So you take a look here at the trade market. Well, Mac Jones is the guy in their mind. Let's say that's the Kyle Shanahan pick. He just wants Mac Jones, John Lynch, trade up, get Mac Jones. They could go up to 7. They could go up to 8, maybe even 6. They didn't have to go up to 3. The most safe, the safest pick they could have gone up to was 3. Zach Wilson at 2, Trevor Lawrence at 1. Nobody can jump them. And I think, yes, Kyle Shanahan's job rides on this pick. So go secure it. Go get your guy. Make sure you go get high enough to get your quarterback. If you want Mac Jones, don't hope he makes it to 7. Go up to 3 and get your guy. So they know what's riding on this. Kyle Shanahan knows what's riding on this. And let's not act like John Lynch is preying on the downfall of Shanahan. I mean, that's his guy. That's who's going to bring them to the promised land. So, yes, I think it's both. They had a guy in mind, and then they went up high enough to go get him. So, yes, and ring the bell. It's Mac Jones at 3.
Right, but you think this is sort of a fielder's choice. They recognize the number 3 position would give them the option to pick whoever they wanted outside of the already definite first and second pick.
3 is safety for your guy. Mac Jones is your guy.
I think what's interesting about this, and I want to ask you, Chris, when did this Mac Jones pick, was this Mac Jones pick, the rumors, a smokescreen all along? Or were we just buying into this notion that it was a smokescreen and then it morphed into, they're actually going to take Mac Jones?
I don't think the idea of taking Mac Jones was ever a smokescreen for them. Like I said, I believe that they traded up comfortable enough with Mac Jones. And then, like you said, taking the fielder's choice of the rest. You can kind of feel it out and see what you like the most. But they were comfortable enough taking this guy. So I don't think the idea of them taking Mac Jones was ever a smokescreen. Them firmly picking Mac Jones is yet to be decided. I don't think they're really throwing smoke. I don't think the 49ers are people to throw smoke. I do think they don't like Justin Fields. I just don't think, I agree that I think that take is the report is real. And I think we want to assume they were throwing smoke because we believe so much that Justin Fields is QB3 or sometimes even QB2, depending on the person. We want to believe so much that the NFL liked Justin Fields as much as we do, when it's become clearly evident that he's QB5 in most minds. Or it's become clearly evident that evaluators in the top 10 don't feel like Justin Fields is worthy of a top 10 pick. Whether we agree with that or not, we can't just then say, it must be smoke because I like this guy. I've done my film review. I think he's QB3. Clearly, they don't think the same way, whether it be off the field concerns like his attitude or he's cocky, some say, or arrogant. That doesn't matter. So if it is between Trey Lance and Mac Jones, I don't think there's much smoke to that. Blowing smoke is more like saying a team like this guy in particular, or they feel like to trade up to this spot. In the 49ers case, they're saying, we're deciding between Mac Jones and Trey Lance. You're not going to know until we finish it, or you're not going to know until Thursday night. But the fact that they are, I don't think is smoke.
Garrett, I now want to ask you. You predicted on this program that Justin Fields could fall, and that is what is happening right now. So how did we get to this point?
It's weird because I got to watch him a lot as an Ohio State fan, and I saw physically, he's just as talented as any quarterback in this class. I saw a lot of mental lapses, a lot of issues like that. And actually, in my last mock, I had him going 3. That was before the reports came out that it was between Lance and Jones, because I thought the Niners would see the ceiling, but I can understand him falling. I do see it, and that does reopen the door for the Broncos at 9, for for teams like that are in the late top 10, early teens, somebody to trade up like the Bears or the Washington football team. I don't, I think it's more than likely if he falls to 9, he'll go to Denver, which would be great. Like we've said before, but I mean, still, I feel like this is going to be something that teams do look back on. They're like, man, we should have taken this guy. I see a lot of great traits with him, and I've said it 100 times on the podcast. He can't start right away. That's the 101st time I'm going to say it. I hope I don't have to say it again, but in the right scheme, give him some time to develop. And this guy's going to be a star. He fixes some of the mental errors, and, he really lets the physical abilities that he has show on the field. And this guy's going to be amazing. And somebody will see that. He will not fall into the teens. Book it now. Somebody will trade up. I think it'll be at 9. I think Denver takes him at 9. And if somebody's going to take him before that, it'll probably be a trade up, because I also think the rest of the top 10's kind of set unless somebody trades in. And I don't think anybody currently in the top 10 behind pick 3 would take him. I don't see Atlanta taking him. I don't see, Carolina or Detroit taking him. So it's either Denver or somebody trades into that top 10 area and sees the talent he has. And I think that's just what we're stuck with for him now. And I mean, it sucks for him, but, I'm sure he'll find the right fit.
The only team I see taking him in the top 10 is Detroit. Outside of that, I really don't see it. I mean, the Broncos, I know, Andrew, you talked to them. They like Trey Lance, and that's really it. Like that's like, they don't like Mac. They're not the biggest fan of Justin. Like if Trey Lance, we always hear back, oh yeah, if Trey Lance falls to me, I'll take him. I don't think many people are expecting Trey Lance to fall to them. I think he's gone at 3 or 2.
I've talked a lot with my Broncos guys, and it is consensus. It's not, the building is split. They have a new GM. He is going to protect his job, and make a safe pick, a Micah Parsons. They're going to trade back. If the right quarterback falls to him,
AKA Trey Lance.
AKA Trey
Right.
Lance, then yeah, they'll take him at 9. But what I've heard is Elway is getting jumpy. He is antsy right now. He doesn't feel safe, and he thinks Peyton Manning carried them so much farther than that team should have gone. And it is go time. They might get jumpy enough to take a guy like Fields at 9. Does he make it there? I don't know. There have been reports that say that the Panthers will take a quarterback if it's the right guy. And judging by what they said earlier, it sounds like Fields was the guy before Darnold. Matt Rule is exactly the kind of person to sink his draft capital into a QB competition. But honestly, I see Detroit at 7. And here's why. Dan Campbell comes from the tree of the Mickey Loomis and the Sean Payton. And if there's any tree in the NFL that I know, it is that one. The black and gold would love to have a player like Justin Fields, an accurate athlete. Yes. And that is exactly what Fields is. And that's exactly what Dan Campbell could want to run his offense. Imagine that. He gets to sit behind Jared Goff, learn how to be professional. Campbell gets his hands on him. You build an offense around him for the next 2 to 3 years. You suck. You have high draft picks. You have big draft capital. And then you start Justin Fields and you can compete right away. So I see 7 being a pretty good spot for Fields. But 7, 8, 9, he could go on any of those picks, and I wouldn't be too surprised. But a slide is looking pretty likely for JF.
Justin
Yeah, I mean,
Fields.
to be
Justin-
there you go. I mean, to be frank, I just think that the only logical landing spot, if there is no trade, is 7 in the front 10. After that, I think he's a free fall.
I agree.
I think if you would have said before the national championship game that Mac Jones was going to go ahead of Justin Fields, everyone would have been like, that's really funny. Ian Book's going to go in the 3rd round too. But no one would have thought that would have happened.
Because it's not going to happen.
You never know. I mean, anyways, pro Ian Book podcast, but not this one. Maybe on Saturday when he gets taken. Anyways, Justin Fields sliding down. I think Garrett hit the nail right on the head. Some team's going to go back and be like, we could have taken him. 49ers are going to be like, oh, we traded everything for Mac, and it got Kyle fired. So I don't know how many teams are going to regret it. But I could also see this being a Josh Rosen type incident when on draft night he goes, the 9 teams that didn't take me, they're going to regret it. We see where he is now. I do think Justin Fields is a way better prospect than Josh Rosen. But I think this Justin Fields revenge tour narrative for the probably 2-3 years down the line when he actually gets to play will be really interesting, and just see how many teams did make a mistake in this year's draft.
I mean, I just pray he doesn't end up like the Ohio State quarterback that went before him.
Haskins.
The guy that was supposed to be number 2 off the board, number three quarterback off the board, and he slips into the teens. Yeah, he slips into the teens, and everybody's gonna regret picking me. Everybody's gonna regret not picking me, and
they regretted picking him, all right.
Oh yeah, but
I regret picking Jones anyways.
I mean, I think Fields is better, but I just pray for the Ohio State Buckeyes as a fan that we don't have to go through this again and watch another quarterback flame out or turn into a receiver when he leaves college. Like, I just can't take it anymore. We need one.
We spent a lot of time talking about the offensive side of the ball, but Andrew Tolva, defense wins championships. Not too many guys getting a lot of love. Who should we be talking about more?
I think first and foremost, the guy that still isn't getting enough love is my boy J.C. Horn from South Carolina. Big fan of his father. He did great things in the black and gold. But this J.C. Horn kid is special, and I think he's better than Patrick Surtain. You look at Surtain. This is nothing against him. Chris, I saw you wince. I know you have problems with this take, but Surtain is a big height weight technique corner, big on technique. I mean, he's a lockdown CB1. No one is disputing that. If you dispute that, you're wrong. That is a subjective claim that he's bad. Like he is factually good. Surtain will be a great CB1 in the NFL, but he does not have the traits of J.C. Horn. Real quick, let's talk. He's faster. He ran a faster 40. He had a higher vertical. He had a longer broad jump. He had more reps on the bench. He's 1 inch shorter and 3 pounds lighter. His resume is even better. They both come from the SEC. J.C. Horn has been left on way more of an island. He doesn't have half the talent that Surtain has had on that defense. No one besides Javon Kinlaw last year was getting after the quarterback. So now he's on his own. Israel Mukwamu is a piece of garbage. I don't want to even hear that he's like in the top 10, top 15 CB conversation. So J.C. Horn is covering these guys, locking down guys like Elijah Moore from Ole Miss. He's been getting a ton of buzz lately. Terrace Marshall. He faced Jamar Chase. He faced Justin Jefferson. I mean, he's had a great resume, but what sets him apart from Surtain is Ruggs III and Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle and Jerry Jeudy. That is the gauntlet. That is the gauntlet right there. And he got worked by Devontae Smith last year, and he made up for it this year. I mean, you watch his traits. He has the technique. He's a relatively safe pick, but his aggressive physical play style is his upside. That is what makes him the real CB1 in this draft. Now, Farley doesn't have back injuries. Caleb Farley is the CB1. I don't want to hear any other claims. But J.C. Horn, great length. He's fast. He ran a 4.39 unofficial. He's run the gauntlet. He's got good technique. He's aggressive. He's physical. He plays the ball. He's everything you want in a CB1 in today's NFL. So that's the first guy that I think is just getting a criminal amount of love. The next is a guy, Chris, I think you can actually get behind this one.
I'm a Gamecocks fan. That's what I'm going to call it. I want to make sure that it's understood. I'm a Gamecocks fan, and I'm still not on the CB2 train for J.C. Horn.
It's fine. You will be. Once he has a great season, you will be. You'll be there. So the next guy I've really honed in on this week. Chris, you can get behind this one. He opted out in 2020. He played on a line with Levi Onwuzurike. His name is Joe Tryon, edge rusher from the University of Washington. This is a Husky that you definitely want to take in the first round. He's versatile. He'll play in your 3-4. He'll play in your 4-3. Hand down 2-point stance. He can cover, and boy, can he rush the passer. He is a finesse player. He's got great speed, but his game is based off of power. He's not a real jumpy guy off the line. He has good enough get off for the NFL, but his hands are really what impresses me on tape. I mean, he just jolts guys back, knocks them off, and then he knows how to use leverage. He's one of the best leverage rushers that I've seen, probably since Nick Bosa. And he's up there with Bosa in terms of leverage rushers. He's what you want. He's got 10 plus sack potential. He's a big time player. And he was as underutilized as I have seen of any player, regardless of position, in the last 3 drafts. I mean, UW did him dirty, and he's still a first round pick. I think this kid's got loads of potential. And if in the right scheme, I mean, he will produce early and often. Chris, what do you think about my boy Joe?
Yeah, so I took a quick film watch today just to check out some claims that were made about him, just to see what they were about. And this is good background information. Though University of Washington runs a 4-3 base, but when they run 3-4 packages, they tend to sub in Joe Tryon, an outside linebacker. Joe Tryon is not an outside linebacker. The tape I've watched, he's 6'5", 262. That is not an outside linebacker size, for good reason. That's massive. That's like close to what Zaven Collins runs, and Zaven Collins is still heavy for his position. He'll have to lose some weight during training camp. Joe Tryon was able to stick well enough in coverage, but he's not a successful 3-4 outside linebacker. When they had him in 4-3, he looked amazing. He had great run stuff. He got in the backfield. His stats were good, but when you watch the tape, he's just a disruptor. He is a disruption force. He will get in the quarterback's face. He will beat a tackle on the outside. It's not always about sacks. When you look at edge rushers, that's very important. When you look at edge rushers, look at their sack numbers, their pressure rates. He had great numbers. Like those outside the box stats were really good for him, which is a good indicator of what he'll be in the pros. Like you say, he's great with his hands. He has good pass rush moves. He's a well-built guy, and I think he's toolsy enough. You can add traits to him to make him a better edge rusher. Yes, he has an absolutely great frame.
Great physical measurables.
Right. He already has good pass rush moves, good run stuff, run moves. You just need to refine some of those things and then build upon them. But it's not like you're building up a whole new player. It's like a Jason Owe where you have to build up all those things again. He already has the base of what you want to draft from the first round. But in this case, you have the ability to add on to more because of his terrible coaching at UW. They had Keith Taylor, Elijah Molden, Levi Onwuzurike, and Joe Tryon all on the same team, and they couldn't win games. Like, I don't know how you do that, but besides the point, a team that is confident in their ability to coach the defensive line, with the New York Jets with Robert Saleh, will take a flyer on this guy in the first round because they believe they can unlock his true potential.
You know, it is. I wonder if you or Iestyn or Garrett agree with this. I was a little surprised that he wasn't getting more attention. I mean, I watched his tape and I was like, I mean, this guy is great. Like he's a first round pass rusher. Plus, let's not act like the defensive linemen that come out of Washington are chumps. Okay. Like these are guys that go in the first round and they play well in the NFL. So I watched his tape. I'm like, this kid's great. Let me go check out his measurables. I mean, he is what you want. He put on some muscle in the offseason. I mean, he's a packaged and sealed edge rusher. And then I went to his draft profiles, and all of the problems, quote unquote, that they have with him are excuses. So I'm genuinely confused. Why is this dude not in the conversation? Like, why is he not being compared to Kwity Paye and getting chumped out of being a top 50 player? What do you guys think?
I mean, just for me, I think because he opted out, it warrants for just like, oh, we forgot about him almost. But like, that's the media. I don't doubt that the NFL didn't forget about him. I don't doubt that he's always been a first round guy. For me, I think the comp you had was Brian Burns. I think that's spot on. It's a guy that has great tools, had great numbers, was undercoached, underdeveloped, as Florida State guys usually are. Janarius Robinson, this guy's edge rusher who's been completely underdeveloped and criminalized as an edge rusher at
Don't
FSU.
Get me started.
He could have easily been a second first round talent if he had just been coached properly, which is something to say. So I think that's definitely a guy that I would emulate with is the pick is Brian Burns is definitely the best case scenario. And if you can draft a Brian Burns in the back 20, that is an absolute steal of a player. And it's something that a team who's confident that the defensive line coaching, like the Jets, the Bills, the Steelers, the Saints, a team like that who is confident in their ability to build defensive lines will be very confident taking a player like this. It's not the same as Gregory Rousseau because Gregory Rousseau doesn't have the tape. He's underdeveloped and he has bad rush moves. He's a good pass rusher. He gets good lucky sacks. This is different. He's a developed player who was undercoached and still had good numbers and put the wrong system. So it's definitely a player where a coach is confident in their ability to groom an defensive lineman will take in the first round for sure.
Lots of buzz around him. I think from what I've heard, I'm sure you've heard the same, Chris. I think that NFL teams they're giving him his due praise. The last guy I just want to slide in is Carlos Basham. I mean, woo, he looks like a raw Cam Jordan coming out of college. Laid a ton in the ACC. He produced. He's got great size. He's got great versatility. And I wrote in my scouting report for him, it looks like he's playing football ballet. Like he's light on his feet. He's got smooth feet. He's a smooth mover. He's not sloppy. He's got some pretty good pass rush moves. Honestly, a team like the Titans, I've heard the Titans could pull the trigger on Basham if the board doesn't fall how they want. So if I see Basham go Thursday night, I'm not going to be surprised, and I'm going to be happy for him. That kid deserves to be a first round pick. So lots of underrated edge rushers. I think when I did all of my my study on these edge rushers, Jalen Phillips, clear edge one, Kwity Paye, Azeez Ojulari, Joe Tryon, Carlos Basham. Don't get me started on Jason Owe. He's a borderline undraftable player. Well, maybe not that bad, but I hate him. And then Gregory Rousseau, who I have as a fringe guy. He's got the tools, but not enough tape. So, yes, those are my underrated, need some more love, and they'll get that Thursday or Friday night.
I think you have to put it in the age game too, because Carlos Basham is 23, turning 24 soon, which you would think he's not the biggest of deal. But in the first round, you want to draft a relatively younger guy. So maybe the only reason that Carlos Basham per se would drop below Kwity Paye or a Joe Tryon or Azeez Ojulari because they just happen to be younger guys.
He's gonna be very good regardless.
Right, I agree.
Of age. Yeah. But as far as the first round pick goes, these edge rushers are kind of hard to predict. I think not even Azeez Ojulari is a sure thing. God, in every mock draft I've seen, it's like, oh well, he's falling. This happened to Chris. This happened to me. He is sliding, and if he makes it past 30, he's not going in the first round. I believe that. So
I didn't know what to do with him.
He's a first round player. He's a first round player, but I just don't. I think Ojulari has is one of those players that it could be like, he is so good. Why is he slipping? Well, he's an undersized rusher who can't even fit in a 3-4 right now. So lots of question marks around the edge rushers. And as important of a position as that is, those are questions that we're going to get answered Thursday and Friday.
Am I the only one that feels like in this draft especially, there's a lot of first-round talent that's going to seep into the second round? A lot more than usual. I mean, in every single draft, there's players like that. In this draft, I genuinely feel like there's 50 to 60 players that I can make a concrete argument for a first-round pick, and only 32 of them get to go in the first round. Like, there's going to be so many great players in the second round. Teams that have these second-round picks, they're going to be just as important as your first-round picks because there's first-round talent for just about every team in the second round in this draft.
I think it's a lot less. Like I think I agree. I think there's like maybe like 6 or 7 guys who are worth of like top 10 picks, and then the rest of them are like late first, mid first round grades. But there's so many late first, mid first round grades that I agree there's at least 50 guys you could put there because they have ability to be graded there. But there's definitely not a lot of guys who would deserve the grade of a top 10 player. But because it's so deep in the mid to late first, you get a lot of first round guys that just seem to slip because there's so many of them.
You look at this board and it's like, oh my gosh, like there are 32 picks in the first round and there are like 50 players that I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they went in the first. Elijah Moore, Travis Etienne, Javonte Williams, Landon Dickerson, Kadarius Toney, Sam Cosme, Terrace Marshall, Liam Eichenberg, Creed Humphrey, Onwuzurike, Ronald Moore Rondale Moore has a lot of buzz. Wyatt Davis, I still think he's a first rounder. Like Greg Rousseau, that's been argued. I'd put Dylan Radins in the late first. Heck, even Osai. I mean, there are a lot of guys who can go late first. We heard from Mel Kiper earlier this week that De'Ami Brown could slide into the late first. So whether you agree with it or not, Chris,
That pissed me off.
these are guys that they're going to fall, and teams are going to get lucky. And when you really dive into it, I guess I didn't realize this before I got sources and before I really got into it. Teams don't have like 32 players with a first round grade. I know the Saints have 19 players with a first round grade. I think the Colts have 18 players with a first round grade. Like, you're not always going to get someone with a first round grade. But teams also have like 30 to 40 players with a second round grade this year. So Garrett, I think you're spot on. There are a ton of fringe guys who are going to go early to mid second, and teams are going to get a second first round pick essentially, which confuses me a little bit on why the Ravens would give away their second in the Brown trade. But I did call that on my mock draft 2.0. I know you all saw that. I called the Orlando Brown trade. Everybody praised me. I got it. I know. I'm telling the future. Saints are going to win the Super Bowl in 2022. Yeah. Okay.
I think teams like the Jets and the Dolphins have really struck gold in this draft because they have a chance to draft 3 first-round players, right? Jets at 223, 34, Dolphins at 618. They have an early second rounder as well. I think they have 2 second rounders. They have really draft 4 first-round players. I think the teams that stockpiled earlier picks, but not taking too much pain because of it, that they didn't trade a lot away for it. Jets just traded Jamal Adams away for it. They've incurred the ability to draft 3 first-round guys, all at premium positions, which is a luxury that not many teams get to have. So I think teams who did that and teams who will definitely trade back will incur a good cost. I'm big on value charts. So, like, if the value doesn't meet the pick, I don't think it's a good pick no matter who you draft. So just like, if you trade back and get a guy who's worthy of a first-round pick and then get 2 more guys worthy of a first-round pick and a second-round pick, I think that's a good value pick. If you trade up for a receiver, I don't think it's a good value pick. I just don't think that's a position where you have to compare to the rest of the draft. There's only one receiver I would trade up for, and it's Jamar Chase. After that, I would never trade up for a receiver, and not in this class at least. Maybe Waddle, but again, Waddle's a slot guy, and then you can draft Amari Rodgers in the 3rd round and get similar value out of it. Not the same player, but like you can get something similar and still draft another premium position as well.
That's a great point. I actually made a list the other day. I was like, dang, like there are a lot of speedsters that can stretch the field, big run after catch monsters. They're twitchy. They can play from the slot outside. So I was like, okay, I'm going to make a list. Listen to this. These are all guys that I have a draftable grade on. Jalen Waddle, Kadarius Toney, Rondale Moore, Elijah Moore, Amari Rodgers, De'Ami Brown, Dwayne Eskridge, Tutu Atwell, Anthony Schwartz, Shi Smith, Demetric Felton, Jalen Darden, and Marquez Stevenson. That's a lot of depth. I mean, that's as many as like a good wide receiver class has in it. And those are just the speedy, twitchy, run after catch slot guys. So you don't trade up for a guy like a Jalen Waddle because you can get a Jalen Waddle 0.5 or the Walmart Jalen Waddle in the 2nd round. That's a great point. I don't think I would trade up for a guy other than Jamar Chase. And if you are still trying to argue that Devontae Smith is wide receiver 1, stop listening to this podcast and go watch some freaking tape. God.
To be fair, I wouldn't draft Devonta Smith till like pick 20, but that's just me. I can't respect a receiver who's 166 pounds soaking wet, so go eat some like pancakes or something. I don't know.
So Iestyn, I want to ask you now. We don't have an Ezekiel Elliott, Saquon Barkley type running back in this draft class, but still, in a lot of mocks, we don't have a running back taken till late teens, 20s, even falling out of the 1st round. So are teams getting smarter with what they spend their 1st-round picks on, or are these top 2 running backs really not worth the top 1st-round pick?
I think that it might just be about positional value. It's not so much that these running backs aren't quality 1st-round worthy running backs. It's more that the teams that have those high picks have more significant needs. You know, I mean, if you got a top 10 pick, you probably have bigger needs than just a running back to make your offense go. And if you're picking late, then they're frankly, especially as you guys said before, in a draft like this, when there's so much fringe talent, there's going to be a quality guy at a position of need available, and rarely in today's NFL is your running back that scheme. Is the running back that important to your offensive scheme? You said before it's all about. I think Tolva, you said earlier on in this pod that it's all about pass catchers, pass rushers, and pass blockers. And that's just as relevant in this. The only reason a running back should go as high as they can is because they can effectively pick up blockers and because they can assist in the pass game both as a blocker and a downfield threat. And I think the only guy who in this running back class who really fully fits that category, and is worth a mid to late first rounder might be Najee Harris.
He's incredible. I mean, his rookie season, he's going to I feel like people are like, well, he's not Saquon Barkley and he's not going top 10, but you make a great point. If you are picking in the top 10 and you're worrying about a running back, you have deeper issues than you need a quarterback, you need a wide receiver, you need a left tackle. You have much bigger issues than that. I will say Saquon Barkley is we've never seen a Saquon Barkley in college football. We never saw someone dominate like that, at least in a very, very long time. So is he a running back worth a top 10 pick? Maybe. In hindsight, maybe not with the injuries. But regardless, you look at a guy like a Najee Harris, and you're like, yeah, like this guy's worth a first-round pick. I just want to say, Travis Etienne, home run hitter. That kid is going to either run for 4 yards or 400 yards in a game. He is a faster, twitchier Dalvin Cook with better hands. Javonte Williams is a better pass catcher than Nick Chubb. Najee Harris he doesn't have a comp. He is Najee Harris. He's going to tear up this league. I don't care if he gets picked late first, early first, mid second, late second, early second, late seventh round. I don't care. Najee Harris is going to tear up the league. But it is a lot about positional value. That's a replaceable position. Chris, we were talking about this. We said guys like Michael Carter, Chuba Hubbard. I have a high grade on Kenneth Gainwell, Trey Sermon, Ramondre Stevenson, Kylan Hill, Javion Hawkins, Khalil Herbert. Your guy, Kene Nwagwu.
Oh my gosh, that's my guy.
These guys are going to serve a role in the NFL, and a couple of those can carry the load. They're not as far down on the depth chart as like a Myles Gaskin. Like these are guys that can take high carries. So spending a first round pick on a running back, even if it's Najee Harris, you have to be a desperate team like the Steelers. Like you need a home run hitter in Ben's last year. Other than that, if the Dolphins go Najee at 18, I'm gonna have some questions.
I would argue that we do have a Saquon Barkley like running back in this class. Like I think that Najee Harris is truly that special. I mean, he proved it in the he proved it in the biggest games. He can just run over anyone. It doesn't matter who it is. He hurdled someone just like Saquon Barkley hurdled a guy over and just kept running. Like, I think we underestimate how good Najee Harris is. But like you said, teams are getting smarter. When the Giants picked Saquon Barkley at 2, it's a big realization. It's a big wake up call. Like that didn't help them. Like there was no plus or minus wins with them. Like you didn't gain wins because you drafted Saquon Barkley, and teams understood that. And because of that understanding, even though you may have a Saquon Barkley-esque running back in Najee Harris, who deservedly a top 10 talent, he's not going to get drafted there because it's not worth drafting there. Running backs don't add a plus-minus win percentage as other positions do. That's just a fact. You want to look at what they can offer you for wins. They may be a stellar talent, but if they can offer you wins, don't draft them at a high position. So I think if the Steelers do it, sure, you need a really running back. Your core is gutted. Fine, take one. But in my opinion, their issues go farther than running back. It's offensive line and scheme. I don't think Anthony McFarland. I think he could do a job if they get another offensive lineman. Like I don't think he's a bad running back. If you want to get a better one, sure. But for teams in the top 15, top 20 who need like talent that makes them win now, I just don't think Najee Harris is that kind of player. Or a running back in general at all is that kind of player.
Right.
Yeah, it's just kind of difficult to offer that same value. You mentioned Barkley. since drafting Barkley in 2018, the Giants have gone 5-11, 4-12, and this year was their best at 6-10. And they didn't have Barkley for more or less the entire season. He made no real impact on the team's success, positive or negative, outside of the value that they lost by taking him at number 2 overall. I mean, that 2018 draft class of quarterbacks is really showing out right now, aside from one particular exception. But frankly, I think they might have been better off taking Rosen, even with his career. Not to disrespect Barkley, but he's done nothing to make them win games more than another more valuable pick could have done. I mean, that Darnold was on the board, Rosen, Jackson, Allen. They were all out there. There was plenty of other time. I mean, how many great young players have come out of the 2018 draft class? Even in the later rounds. They could have traded down from that position if they really thought of running back was their best option and still got, a potential starting quarterback and added value over the next few seasons, because if they're going to be bad anyway, might as well make them valuable picks.
Furthermore, do you want to spend a top 10 pick on a guy you probably won't give a next contract to?
Exactly.
Like,
you're getting 3 or 4 seasons.
Yeah. If your theory is like, oh, get him young and then let him go, why would you ever spend a top 10 pick or a first round pick in general on a guy you don't plan on keeping in the long term? Like, if
you don't extend a running back.
Exactly.
You don't extend a running back no matter where you draft him. If you extend him if he's coming off an injury and he's willing to take a massive pay cut, or if he is just a generational talent and he's the last piece you need to win a Super Bowl. But if he's not that last piece, even if he's the second to last piece, it's not worth it. It's not good value, and you're not going to get what you need out of him compared to what you'd get if you spent draft capital and cap space on a player who actually covers the whole. I'd rather get a CB3 at this point.
And furthermore, like the Jets signed Le'Veon Bell to a massive contract. Where would that money go? It's basically hurting them right now. And for example, Christian McCaffrey. What plus or minus wins do Christian McCaffrey bring to the Panthers? I get he's the best running back in the league. He's really, really good. He can run a good wheel route. I know a lot of running backs who can run a good wheel route. Like, it's called a committee for a reason. You put guys on the field when they need to run a power run or a up the middle run. You put different guys on the field when you need to run a wheel route. A guy who just both just wastes you money. That you can get 2 running backs. You can get Jamal Williams. You can get who's a good running back in that around outside the backfield? I don't know. Tevin Coleman, Jamal Williams can do the same job that Christian McCaffrey can do with like a fraction of the cost and maybe like a minus like 0.01 win percentage number. So I think it's just much more understanding to get a running back by committee who's cheap, draft a guy later on in the draft, and just make it work. If you have a good offensive line, it should work. Unless the guy just can't read the field.
Yeah, no, that's big. I think it's traits are important. Najee Harris is jumping over people, running through people, taking their ankles, spin, move, juke, jump, slide, touchdown, whatever. He's getting in the end zone. So that's important, but you also put him behind like a practice squad offensive line and he's not going to go very far. So I have a question here. If you take a guy who's a second round talent at running back, he's sitting there. He's a Najee Harris. Let's say Najee Harris is sitting there in the second round. You got him at 50. Your team needs a quarterback. Let's say, I'm a fan of Davis Mills. This kid from Stanford. Not many of y'all might know him, but
Davis Mills hype.
Chris, I know you're maybe a little hype about Davis Mills, but you need a quarterback and you need a running back. You get a sure thing in Najee Harris. You get a project in Davis Mills. Who are you taking at 50?
Najee Harris. If you're at 50 and you need a quarterback, you've done something wrong.
Okay. Well, the Saints, though, the Saints need a quarterback. Maybe they don't get one in
but
the
not
first
directly.
round.
They don't need one like this year.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. They have someone
then
for him
technology
to develop behind. So they have a Jameis Winston or someone who can start that year, the next year, and you can afford to have a project quarterback. You still take a then and now running back over a potential big hit at the most important position in football.
If you're in the spot where you need to bank on a late round quarterback or not a first round quarterback, a late second round, early third round quarterback to try to fix the quarterback position, you've done something wrong. Like, it's just such an improbable hit rate to get a guy like that to work out on your team, let alone be a top 10 quarterback. you've done something wrong to get to the point where that's like what you have to rely on. So no, I wouldn't take him. I think he's going to be a good player. I think he has the possibility to be a good quarterback. Do I think he can be top 15? No, I don't. Do I think Najee Harris can be a top 15 running back? Yes, I do. Do I think a late round team who needs a running back can get a guy like this who is this good and they can maybe it's like the last point, like it needs to like really reach the next level? Take the guy that can put to the next level that needs to sit for a little bit.
I now want to change the subject totally way off the board. We've compared a lot of guys to a lot of things. So now I want to talk about 3 of the top QB prospects and compare them to their Chipotle Bowl. So I'm not going to give you a name. I'm just going to tell you what's in their order that you can get.
I already memorized it. You can't trick me.
So one has Sofritas. I don't know what that is. Probably butchered the pronouncing. Brown rice.
Sofritas. Yeah, I used to work at Chipotle. Kind of a big deal.
Fajita veggies, romaine lettuce, guacamole. That's bowl 1. Bowl 2, chicken, white rice, black beans, tomatillo, green chili salsa, guacamole. And the third one, steak, brown rice, black beans, fresh tomato salsa, tomatillo, green chili salsa, romaine lettuce, guacamole.
Trey Lance.
Trey Lance, that's got to be Trey Lance.
Yeah, no, Justin Fields is a vegetarian, so the one that didn't have meat is Justin Fields.
So Trey Lance's is the most expensive, also the highest in calories. Zach Wilson has the chicken, and Justin Fields, the vegetarian. I just found out. So
I memorized their bowls. Don't worry.
If you are building an NFL team based on what they are getting for lunch, Garrett Cowdrey, who are you taking out of those 3? Now, I didn't mention Trevor Lawrence, who is very into crypto, and just by like looking at Trevor Lawrence does not surprise me like at all. Him getting a bunch of crypto, like not shocking. But back
it's
to
crazy to think about. But yes, Chipotle.
Hey, if we're going off Chipotle orders, I'm taking Zach Wilson because I'm not the pro vegetarian, but Zach Wilson just seems like a more cost efficient order. Overall, though, I know Mac Jones is eating good. That dude has the body of a 50-year-old dad, and I know we didn't put his order on there, but whatever Mac Jones,
it's a burrito for sure, no doubt.
Oh yeah, it's probably multiple burritos. He's not on the list. I'm taking Mac Jones first, but right behind him is Zach Wilson. Of the guys you listed, is definitely Zach Wilson.
Oh my gosh.
Iestyn, I don't know if they have Chipotle in Canada, but I'm sure you have an opinion on this.
They don't, no, but they do have Fat Bastard Burrito. And, yeah, frankly, give me that.
Is that the CFL sponsor?
Yeah, I mean, they should be. I mean, have you seen our athletes up here? But no, they anyone who goes and orders a bowl in a place that sells a burrito, I do not trust. I'm sorry. I don't trust any of those.
But it's such a mess. This you could like eat with a fork.
Exactly. I'm sorry. I'm not going to eat anything with a fork in a place that sells burritos because I'm getting that burrito.
Amen.
You can't convince me that the kind of person who eats a bowl makes good decisions, and I need a good decision maker if I'm going to quarterback my team. I guarantee you, Josh Allen goes into what did
Josh Allen hunts his food. Josh Allen hunts his food.
Yeah. Exactly. He does. He has to. He has to because he likes to eat directly off a leg.
He doesn't use
it's
weapons.
Easy, it's clean, efficient, and he's a quarterback. He's got important things to be doing.
Look, okay, all your takes are wrong. Garrett, I am shocked that you said the chicken one. Ridiculous. I don't even understand the point of this. It's Trey Lance. It's not even close.
No, it's not steak. Don't play.
What are you talking? All right, we're not having this debate right now. That it's a steak one.
Literally though, that meat. Every day we would cook it fresh.
Yeah, we get it. Chipotle's fresh, but that's not what this is about. This is about what you get.
No. It's about the meat though. Okay, they put the chicken on and it sells faster and it's fresher. You get the steak and it's crusty and it's got some oily film.
The steak is superior anyways. It doesn't really matter.
No, it's not.
Hang on. The steak is not inherently better.
It is.
Okay, hang on. Ordering steak when the chicken is fresh is like drafting a running back second overall in 2018.
It's not. No.
It's just not a good idea.
Steak has clearly a higher value. Steak has a higher value here.
I'll take
chicken is the
over
running back.
No, chicken's way more versatile. Chicken's worth the first round pick.
Absolutely not.
Hold on, guys. Let's think about it.
God.
We went from breaking legitimate NFL draft news to arguing like cats and dogs over Chipotle orders.
Well, this is the real debate.
This is the real debate.
No,
this is
the main event. I'm not saying we're
these
wrong.
These questions don't get answered on Thursday.
Yeah,
okay?
no, you can't go to ESPN
at dinner. If I'm at a
go.
restaurant, I'll order steak over chicken breast. I go to Chipotle. I want something quick. Okay, I'm gonna have to chew on that rubbery ass steak for 30 minutes, and then I'm gonna be like,
Ice cold take. Ice
That
cold.
was gross. All right, what is wrong with you,
I
Chris?
agree with
God.
Tolva. I agree with
I will
him.
take cold steak over chicken any day.
Okay, okay, hang on. Have you ever had cold KFC though? I mean,
No,
All right,
you're
all
not
right,
gonna
all
make
right.
me
Let's
eat
back
KFC.
off a second
No,
here.
no more free ads. Okay,
I'm
so
about
two
to
things
jump
from
through
that.
this camera.
One, that was not an ad from Chipotle. I came up with that by myself. I had to say their name though. Two, Garrett, that's what the sportsways bring you. No one else is talking about that, but we
Hey, man,
needed an
I'm not
answer.
saying you're wrong.
And you haven't gotten it. Chris
And you
is out
got
here
more
with,
than an answer.
that's an
You got
ice cold take.
We-
Steak is the answer. No, it's not.
We only got a couple minutes left, and unlike Kyle Shanahan, I do know that the five of us will be around on Sunday. Chris Mullen and Andrew Tolva won't be doing much sleep until Thursday, but they got something big going on. Chris, let the people know what it is.
All right, so we are having our third, I think it's third annual, right? Iestyn, third
it is
annual.
third annual, yeah.
Third, it's my first time. Third annual NFL draft live party show, whatever you want to call it. Starting at 7:30 Eastern time. Iestyn, Steven, Andrew, and Garrett will all make appearances on the show, covering their teams. Steven, you'll be cutting
Not
time Will Parkinson.
covering
I'm sure you know who
my
that is.
team.
Steven,
I'll
you know
cover our
Will,
team,
right?
Andrew, I got you.
Will Parkinson from TOJ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll be coming on right when the Jets pick as well. You'll be coming on after.
I had to hand pick 28 over to Garrett. It's not good
Yeah,
for
we'll
the
be going over every
TSW
pick.
brand.
Hey, I'm honored, man.
We'll be going over every pick, grading them, talking draft. Trades will happen. We'll get our first reactions. X won't hold back. I know I won't either. It'll be a fun time. We're just gonna hang out on YouTube Live, just chat. It'll be fun. I think it'll be a fun event to join into. Have it to decide while you're watching the coverage on ESPN or whatever. Even though our coverage is superior,
Because it is.
I think everyone should definitely join in.
Objectively. But TSW has big things coming, people. Y'all got to pay attention. We got the card runner. We got podcasts coming out almost every day at this point. We have articles coming out every day.
Oh yeah,
like
we've been
Steven said-
tripling. We've been quadrupling. We used to be pushing out like one article a day, and I thought 360 articles in a year from this
Not
company was
when
good.
I'm
We've been knocking out 3-4 articles a day for about 2 months now, and it's nonstop. It's fantastic. If you guys aren't watching, then start.
50% of it is Andrew Tolva. Let's keep that in mind.
Speaking
It's
of
true.
card
He
runner,
grinds.
we will have our TSW company mock draft tomorrow. It'll go out Thursday morning or Wednesday night. We will be doing that. Everyone here will be picking for teams. It should be a good one. We'll just talk about trades, all that kind of stuff. So,
All right, stay tuned, people.
If you haven't read Andrew Tolva's stuff, it's everywhere. Chris Mullen is everywhere by your house. Iestyn and Garrett, they're always around here. Big thanks to you guys for joining. I'll see you back here Thursday night after the draft.